Hello class, my name is Evgeny Gorokov and I'm here to present Savar building collapse case study. In this study, we'll cover introduction, overview, relevant information, selection of the case study, lesson learned, critique of the case study, conclusion, and references. This case study reviews the Rana Plaza building collapse that happened in Bangladesh. It marked a tragic turning point in the global understanding of workplace safety and labor exploitation. The disaster unfolded in horrifying fashion, with an 8-story apparel factory collapsing in a devastating pancake fashion. The toll was staggering, claiming the lives of many workers while leaving countless others injured. This catastrophic event exposed a web of systemic issues, from the absence of adequate building codes, initial emergency response issues, and exploitation of workers in pursuit of cost savings. The factory collapse happened on April 24, 2013 in Bangladesh. The apparel 8-story factory building collapsed in a pancake fashion, killing at least 1,132 people and injuring even more. The apparel factory was named Rana Plaza, where many thousands of workers have been employed among 5 garment factories. A considerable number of bodies were recovered in the stairwells and on the staircases, with the assumption that victims thought they would have been safe there. Many survivors have broken their silence and spoken about the disaster and its unsafe working conditions. One day prior to the collapse, the building was evacuated due to cracks in the walls. Unfortunately, all workers were ordered back the next day to face the disaster. I researched this case studies by utilizing this disaster response and emergency management book, also a few articles on the web and YouTube videos. The reason I selected this case study is to research information regarding man-made disasters and structural failures. Each disaster contains a sad part because of the human injuries and deaths. It also teaches us how to save lives and increase resilience. Lack of building codes is a common element in the building collapse disaster. The plaza collapse brought a lot of attention to reevaluating working conditions in the factory by improving building codes. On the day of the collapse, the electricity went out in the building, which was a common recurrence per some reports. To maintain the productivity of the businesses, generators were started on the roof. The vibration from generators might have stimulated the building to become unstable and led to collapse. The factory collapse illustrated several examples of deficiencies in the safety enforcement of the building. It is well documented that the day prior to collapse, the structure sustained a significant crack in the wall, which caused a total evacuation of the building and further inspection. The professional recommendation to the owners was to condemn the building. However, despite the safety concerns and recommendations, the workers were ordered back to the work next day. The building collapse also provides a few examples of life safety hazards, like faulty electrical wiring and structural integrity. Many people spoke up about various unsafe working conditions after the collapse. The deadly disaster broke the silence, and people demanded changes. Additional important factor of life safety hazards are lack of inspection systems and appropriate enforcement mechanisms that directly contribute to and continue to influence the labor force in Bangladesh. This disaster created widespread criticism among many people. Lack of regulatory enforcement was one of the primary concerns, which was interpreted in the failure of local authorities in Bangladesh to enforce building codes and safety regulations. The unauthorized construction of additional floors and the neglect of basic safety measures highlighted a systemic issue in oversight of the construction of industrial facilities. The disaster shed light on unethical labor practices within the garment industry. Workers in Rana Plaza were subject to unsafe working conditions, low wages, and long hours. Critics argue that the incident exposed the broader issue of worker exploitation in pursuit of cheap labor. Many international clothing brands and retailers were criticized for their involvement in the supply chain. Some were accused of prioritizing cost-cutting measures at the expense of worker safety. The incident prompted a calling for greater accountability and transparency in the sourcing practices of global corporations. Some critics voiced concerns regarding delayed response in initial search and rescue operations. They argue that the more lives could have been saved if actions had been taken immediately after the cracks were reported in the building structure. The Savar building collapse in Bangladesh stands as a reminder of devastating consequences that can result from systemic failures in the workplace safety and labor exploitation. This tragic event, which claimed the lives of over 1,000 workers and left countless others injured, exposed many deficiencies from the absence of adequate building codes to the abuse of the labor force in the pursuit of profits. Furthermore, the disaster underscores life safety hazards inherent in the working conditions, encompassing issues ranging from the faulty electrical wiring to compromised structural integrity. Here are the references that I used during my case study. Thank you for watching.